to India and Ireland, round Africa and back again. We don't really need to know just where we'll go. Maybe Canada, then to Brazil, then through the Alpine foothills. All I really want to know is, can we go? Oh baby, can we go? Round and around the globe.
Welcome to Take Me With You, episode 86. I'm Ryan,
And I'm Cheryl. We are two well-traveled people who want to go everywhere.
but that's not going to happen. So instead, we'll travel vicariously by inviting a guest to share their unique travel stories with us.
This summer, we are taking a little bit of a break from guests. We just needed some space.
Because we clearly have not had enough individual space over the last several months.
And so we are watching travel shows this
Yes,
summer.
we are.
And this is our third week
It
of doing
is.
that. Yeah.
And this is fun. I'm enjoying this so far, Cheryl.
Yeah, I am too. It's really fun. We've talked about how we just feel like it would be fun to see more travel shows. You and I haven't really watched
Mhm.
very many for people
No.
who are travel lovers. And I'm realizing it's so fun. Like, I think I do want to keep watching more travel shows. And I
Mm.
think now it's so fun to have like a little like sampler platter of all of these travel shows.
Yeah,
Why would my metaphor not be a food one?
no reason.
And so like today's show, so we watched Travel Man 48 Hours in ... I believe is the full title of it. Although some places it's called Travel Man, some places it's called Travel Man 48 Hours, but I think the "in" with the ellipses is part of the title. And this one was so different from last week's when we watched Anthony Bourdain's No Reservation.
Yep.
Both of them I would watch again, but different moods. You know, like this
Very
one,
different moods.
I was like, this is what I want to watch during quarantine.
Well, and I don't want to give too much away from the get-go, but I think I found my new favorite travel show.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I loved it.
Yes. Oh,
To
my
the extent
goodness.
that I actually have watched way more episodes than just the two that we were supposed to watch for this podcast.
Yes, really?
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Oh, that's
It's-
so fun. I definitely want to keep watching. Oh man, it feels like they took the format of a Rick Steves travel show, like
Mhm.
like they took his plans and then they were like, let's do a couple zany things and then let's add our fun British commentary to this.
Uh-huh.
And it's like if Rick Steves were snarky, kind of.
Yes. So just for context, the host of this show is Richard Ayoade, who is the actor who plays, I don't remember the character's name, but in
Moss.
the IT Crowd.
Moss.
Mott. Yep, in the IT Crowd.
He is delightful. I love him in
Oh.
the IT Crowd so much. And his delivery of things in this show is like, oh, so it's very close to how he delivers funny things, but he just has more snark and
Oh my gosh.
everything in it.
I have laughed so much with these shows, and some of them are funnier than others, but the main premise is that he's going somewhere for 48 hours because he lives in the London area, right? He lives in the UK, and they can fly to a whole bunch of places in Europe for a weekend. And so that's kind of the idea is, let's go for 2 days, and what can you do for 2 days? And he takes a celebrity, generally a comedian, along with him.
Oh, it's so good.
It really is.
Oh, it's the snark just makes me so happy because that's what I like when I travel is like, let's stand in awe of this amazing thing we're looking at or food, whatever it
Mhm.
is. And let's also make some jokes that maybe we need to say under our breath a little bit because it's very positive sarcasm. Some people
Yes.
think of sarcasm as a very negative thing or
And
like
it can be.
Yes, it can be, or people can think of sarcasm as like, well, you're just saying what you wish you could say, so you're saying it in a sarcastic way. But this is
Mm,
such a lovely example of like, he is so sarcastic, and it's such in this like lighthearted, positive, fun way.
hmm
Oh, and it's very British, the humor. It's so
Yes.
dry, and I
Well,
just love it so much.
so the intro where they go through and he does his little spiel and he kind of goes between different places that he goes, I think, during that season, I think, and it's a little snippet of him saying part of the intro, whatever I don't know what it is. And at the very end, there's a shot of him wherever they are, and he says something like, here we are in whatever, but should we have come? And he's like, but should we have come? Is this worth it? And that just is like, I think that helps personify that idea and that perspective. So, Cheryl,
hmm
why don't you start us out this time?
Okay.
What is the episode that you watched of a place that you have been before?
I watched the Rome episode.
Okay. And you have been to Rome, and I have sadly not been to Rome.
Correct.
So why don't you give us the rundown of Rome via Travelman 48 Hours?
It's so fun. There are ways that it's pretty similar to my visit to Rome. I was there for 3 days. Maybe it was 3 full days. And then like landing in the city, I think we had some time after putting our bags in our hotel. I went with my sister Lisa, and we really saw the highlights. She really planned what we were going to see in Rome and did a very good job. And we fit a lot into those days. It was the very start of our trip. So we had all of the energy and we were ready to go.
And all of the jet lag.
Yeah. And yeah, we really saw a lot of highlights, and they really see a lot of highlights in this. And so that was fun to kind of see, to get to see all these places I've been to. And I reflect on my travels in Spain a lot because of this podcast, but I have not reflected on my travels in Italy as much. And so it was so fun to think about Rome and see shots from there. They go fast. And I mean, the show is fast. The show,
Right.
he talks fast. They do fast cuts. He's just like, go, 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 go.
And it's only 24 minutes long.
Yes. Yeah, which is a great representation of only being in a city for 48 hours. That works out really nicely. So I think they've selected a nice format for what they're doing. They they do a driving tour through the city where he and Matt Lucas was his celebrity, which I know from the movie Bridesmaids. Have you seen Bridesmaids?
Maybe.
He
But
plays
if I did, I don't know that.
Rebel Wilson's brother, and he's like and he and Rebel Wilson are like roommates with Kristen Wiig, who's the main character of it, and they're both like just awful people. So yeah, but he's very snarky. He's also British. And the two of them are in one car, and then their tour guide is in the car in front of them on a walkie-talkie telling them about like the different things that they're seeing out of the window. So they're like kind of caravanning around.
But they're driving?
Yeah. So well, maybe the tour guide was in the passenger seat, but the tour guide has a walkie-talkie in the car in front of them and is telling them everything. Oh yeah, and then they're driving.
Huh.
I just want to call him Moss. Moss is not Richard. Is driving as this all is going on. So obviously they're commenting on like the crazy driving in Rome and how it's very stressful.
Yeah.
So I'll just point out some of the things I really loved about it. It was funny though. It was driving for them. It was driving on the other side of the road, because in Italy they drive on the same side of the road that we do, and so they were saying this is already crazy driving, crazy drivers all around us, and we're on the wrong side of the road. So that was funny. They stopped by the Vatican, and he said, "This is the most Catholic city within a city."
Yeah, I can hear him saying
and
that.
And then
yeah.
they don't go in, and his guest is pretty disappointed, and he's like, "We don't have time. Look at that line. That's a crazy line." So they just like look at St. Peter's Basilica in the Vatican and then go on their way. They got this is an example of his humor that just like delights my heart so much, is they get the Pope magazine. Apparently there's a Pope
That's a
magazine
magazine.
that comes out every week.
Every week?
Yes. And
Like
so
from the
he
Pope?
or like about what the Pope is up to, or it almost looks like a People
Wow.
magazine or something, but it says like
Pope.
Papa on it. And
Huh.
his commentary as he's flipping through it,
Uh-oh.
he sees him like the Pope is like greeting a small child, and he goes, "Here he is whacking a kid." And then there's like there's a woman, they're like putting their hands on each other's faces, so like a really like
Tender
I don't
moment.
know. Yeah, a really tender moment. He goes, "Here he is protecting himself from a female assailant." So just like that's such an example of his humor in this, is he's just, oh, I love the snark.
Yeah.
They eat food, so that made me very happy. And then they go to the Treveri fountain, and he says, "Yes, you do recognize it from the Lizzie McGuire movie. It's the Treveri fountain." And then one thing I liked how they edited this show is, as they show different like landmarks or buildings or things, they just have a little text box with a little line that pops up, and it might say what year it was built. It might say a detail. It even one time they're like filming location for Roman holiday, and they just throw those in again super fast. But it's just fun to
Mhm.
kind of see all those little.
Well, and I think they're
snippets.
supposed to look like luggage tags
Oh, that would make
because they have a little
sense.
circle in the corner. And
Oh, okay. Yeah. I
Yeah.
liked those. And then they met up with a tour guide for a little bit to go in the Colosseum.
Okay.
And then it was funny because they were obviously making all sorts of jokes about how grim the story of the Colosseum is. So that was fun.
Sure.
Then they go to gladiator school. So this is where like
Oh.
all those other things Rick Steves could do. You know, he would have very
Yeah.
different things to say about it.
Uh-huh.
But you know, those were mainly kind of mainstream things. And then this gladiator school thing is where they kind of do some like silly hijinks. I think
Yeah.
they're trying their best. I don't think they're trying to just be like doofuses, but it's
Yeah.
more like either his narration later over what's happening or their comments in the moment that are very funny. And so, yeah, I just wrote a note there that the show is such a good combination of silly cultural things and also travel info. And so they
Yeah.
kind of do a couple like weird things and then mainly show you things that you would probably want to see in a
Mhm.
city.
Mhm.
They use the translation app, and he was like, "And we effortlessly exchanged in dialogue." And then you see like how clunky it is, and like this like old man who like is doing marble work stuff is like starts speaking back, and they're like, hold on, it's not ready. And like, so it's just,
Oh,
and then they're like,
geez.
and then we ran out of data, and then we had to communicate in different ways. So that was kind of silly. He references montages a couple times. He just says like,
Yes.
and then we had to do a montage of this. And
Yes.
so that's very funny. Or like they had to wait for an hour for something, and he's like, so obviously we had to show you a montage, and they're just like walking on the street. It's one shot, and he calls it a montage.
Well,
And then
it is very meta about itself.
yes, and I like that.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. He's like, this
Yeah.
is a travel show. It's very much that, which is very fun. And then at the end of it, Matt Lucas says, this is like exactly how I feel about travel, and so I really liked this. Or about
Okay.
favorites. He
Oh,
said,
I know where this is going then.
if I had to pick a favorite moment, I'd say the moment that lasted for 2 days in which I spent time with you in Rome.
Yeah.
I was like, that's how I feel. So yeah, it was I would say a really great representation of what to see in Rome and what to do, and then also just loads of fun. And
Yeah.
So that was the Rome episode.
So you basically already answered this, but I'm going to ask you anyway, because that's what we do next. Do you feel like this matches your experience of this location?
Yeah, I think so. Because I saw a lot in Rome as well. And it is like they make a lot of comments about even like there's a building that's just a couple 100 years old. And they're like, well, that's new for here. But like I also saw a ton of amazing buildings in Rome. Like they see so many
Yeah.
amazing places. And that's what Rome has is like my sister and I would stop at a building and look at our map and be like, well, how is this not even on the map? This is spectacular. And it's like, oh, it's just another
Mm,
building. But
yeah.
like there's so much history there. There's so many amazing things to see. And they covered a lot. And so I think that kind of matches it. And they had good food. So that matches it too for me. And they had fun. And I had fun when I was in Rome. Obviously, they did a few more like private tour things than I would choose to do, like the driving tour and the private tour in the Colosseum. But I mean, I think they just, yeah, it seems like it. I could watch that and then go to Rome and feel like, oh yeah, they represented it kind
Yeah.
of how I would. So yeah,
Nice.
yep. So which episode did you watch that you've been to and I have not?
I watched season 2, episode 1 on Vienna.
Oh, I want to go to Vienna.
Yeah, and what I think is interesting is I probably only spent at the most 48 hours in Vienna when I was there. Because I think we were there for probably just 2 nights is probably all we were there. It was on the tail end of a trip, and we were at the team and we were doing our team debrief there. So it was interesting. This one is this was great. You're going to be jealous. So obviously Richard Ayoade, but then his guest star was Chris O'Dowd, who is the other main character from the IT Crowd.
Oh, that's so wonderful.
Oh, it was so good. It was so good. And yeah, there are just so many things that I enjoyed about it. And those little luggage tags or whatever that you talked about, sometimes what they would have is they would have prices for things, for how expensive something was. So I appreciated that. And you're right, it was very quick. And so sometimes it would happen fast enough that I wouldn't have time to process what it was. And I would want to back up and watch it again just to see what the thing was. But they're trying to give you, what I appreciated was, it's not just we're going to do these cool things, but also give you an idea how expensive is the trip and what are the things that we're doing cost. So if you wanted to do a similar trip, you would have an idea what that is like. So I appreciated that. They did a real quick little demographics about Vienna, a few things the city was known for. And then, so then for their hotel, they go to this hotel, and Chris gets an extra special room. He gets to stay in an Airstream trailer.
That's funny.
And he's relatively tall, so he stands up and like his head is hitting the ceiling of the trailer. It was a little thing, but it was just kind of funny. And then they do this mini hot rod city tour. So they're in these little, like tiny, they look like little mini race cars. They're 1 person size race cars. And it's kind of like the tour you were talking about a little bit, in that, so each person has their own, and then the tour guide had one, and they're wearing helmets and they had microphones in their helmets so they could talk to each other. But then they're driving through the city streets, and this is this thing, but they're trying to drive these little tiny cars, which was just super funny. And then they do a bunch of museums, and I wrote down a lot of quotes, kind of like you did, because some of them are so funny. So Richard says, Vienna is dense with over 100 museums, which is more than 2 times 50 or 4 times 25. It's like he's expanding, but it really doesn't actually tell you anything. It's just really funny. And they go into the Freud Museum. Sigmund Freud was in Vienna. So they go to the Freud Museum. They make some Freud jokes.
Great.
They talk about how his action figure would have loved having a lightsaber. So I appreciated that. Then they go to what he referred to as a Noshmart, which I think you would appreciate. It's like a food place. Ooh. And it's like an open air market. They drink some partially fermented wine and what they called Austrian meat, which was sausage. And they kind of like, there was an app in yours. There was an app in this one. It's called the Food Spotting app, where you type in the food that you want and then it tells you where to find it.
Oh,
I know, Cheryl. Mm-hmm.
Food spotting.
You may need to find that app.
Yeah.
And then they go to Cafe Central and they have apple streusel and a Sasha tort. And what I just loved about it was they're going and they're eating and they're having food, but it's my kind of travel food show. It's not like No Reservations where it's all about the food and they're in all these ins and outs. They're like just having the food because, and then they're having a conversation that may or may not be about the food. They're just
Mm.
talking. And I was like, yes, you're showing me some cool foods that I might want to have, but that's it. Because I don't really care.
They're not
about much more than
obsessive.
that. No. And so I've just, on so many levels, I was like, this is my travel show.
Mm, mhm.
You know, and they do, it's just so funny, just the different things that they do. They do this like horse and cart ride through the town, like you've seen. And then Richard is allergic to horses.
Oh no.
So then he's like sneezing the whole time and like has to stop. It's just funny. And yeah, it's funny. And then they do the Third Man tour. Apparently it's a black and white old school movie with Orson Welles that took place there. And they go to different spaces where it was shot,
Oh.
but it also includes this sewer that they go
Huh.
into that apparently smells like a sewer.
Okay.
I don't know. It was very random, but it was pretty funny. They go to a snow globe museum because apparently snow globes were invented in Vienna.
Oh wow.
And then Chris breaks one,
Oh no.
like a big
Oh.
one.
Oh no, no.
Oh yeah. And it was one of those where he starts and it looks like he was faking that he was gonna drop it, and then he actually dropped it.
Oh boy.
And at first I was like, did you stage that? And I'm pretty sure they didn't stage that.
Oh my goodness. Oh no. That's like a nightmare.
Oh yeah, it was very, very crazy, but funny at the same time. And then they end it kind of like you said, they go through and they kind of try to hit the highlights. You know, what are the different highlights? And they kind of recap their 48 hours, but they do it on a battery powered island on the Danube River. So it's this, I don't know, maybe bedroom sized floating thing that has reclining, like it has chairs and a table on it and
Oh my
AstroTurf
goodness.
on the top, and it just goes out into the river and they can kind of drive it, but it's this
That
floating
sounds fun.
island. Oh yeah, it was totally random. It's
I
one of
wanna
those
go
things
on
like you
that.
mentioned where it's those kind of zany things,
Uh-huh.
but it totally fits with the mood of the show
Yeah.
and their attitude. And it's one of those where I never would have thought to seek something like that out, but that could be kind of fun.
Oh my goodness. Oh, that's
Yeah.
fun.
So, I mean, it was, and this is, I think, one of the top rated episodes as well.
Mm.
But I watched this one and very quickly I fell in love with the show because yes, the snark and the attitude
Yeah.
and just the amount that they pack in,
Yes.
you see a lot of stuff
Yeah.
that they do, but it's not, some of it is the major stuff and some of it isn't. And
Yeah.
that's okay.
Yeah. It doesn't just feel like someone's on a tour bus for 2 days.
No.
And that's good. Like
Yeah.
they do tour stuff and some of those tour things are kind of mainstream. But that was like a few minutes of the show, it seems like.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think last week we were saying that Anthony Bourdain does a quicker recap of a location than Rick Steves does. You know, like if Rick
Mhm.
Steves takes a little bit of time to talk about the history, Anthony
Mhm.
Bourdain does like 2 sentences that like give you an idea.
Mhm.
And then this is even quicker and more condensed
Yup.
than that, where you get the history in like one thought. You know, it's just like, there
Yep.
it is. Okay, moving on because we're going fast.
Yep.
So, yeah. So, Ryan, do you feel like this matches your experience of the location?
No,
Okay.
it does not. I did not do any of the things that they
Mm.
did, and which is okay.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think that that's bad. It actually, it makes me a little bit more excited because there's all of these other things in the city that I've already been to that I haven't done and haven't
Yeah.
seen. And so it makes it more exciting if I were to ever go back, that there's
Yeah.
other things that I could see or do or be interested in. But yeah, a lot of it was not particularly familiar to me. But then again, I hadn't been to Vienna for super long. You know, I was only there for a little bit
Yeah.
anyway. But
How about like how do you feel like they captured like the feel of Vienna? Were there similarities there?
I think that's really difficult because the feel of the show may not be the feel of the city.
Yeah, this feels very different than, again, like what a contrast to the Anthony Bourdain ones, which it feels like the episode feels like the location. And this is
Mm.
like Mad Libs or something
Yeah.
where it is much more the show just set in different places.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a little bit more than that, but I see what you're
It leans
saying.
that way a lot more.
Yeah, it's not trying to give you the essence of the place. It's you're doing a weekend trip. You're going down, you're seeing what you can see, and that's it. And
Mhm.
it's the things that the host is interested in doing, or
Yeah.
maybe his producer is interested in them doing.
Yeah. But I mean, that matches what we keep talking about with like if you want to get to know a place and you want to get to
Mhm.
know the culture, time. You
Yep.
have to spend time.
Yep.
And if you visit a place over a weekend, you will see a lot, but have much less of an opportunity to actually get to know what's unique about that
Mhm.
place or what the
Yeah.
culture is truly like. And so I think this matches that really well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with that. And I wouldn't use this show to help plan a vacation of mine, but I would use this show to give me ideas of places that could be fun to go,
Mm.
if that makes sense.
Well, that's part of planning, though.
It is, but like I would watch Rick Steves for more of the
Mm,
kind of planning, the
yes.
logistical side of how much time do you spend and where are the regions to go
That's
and
true.
like that sort of a thing. But if I just want to get a quick little snapshot, what even is this place? For example, the next episode that you and I both watched together that neither of us had heard of before.
Yeah,
I
that's
think
really
it does
true.
a really good job of giving you just a brief little snapshot of a place.
Yeah, I would agree with that because I think Rick Steves gives you very practical advice about
Yes.
when you're visiting here, you can take the metro and
Mhm.
here are places it goes and this is how people use it and here's what's culturally acceptable and they only take cash. Like he
Yep.
really breaks it down
Yep.
where like you could just get so much advice. And this show is none of that,
Nope.
but it is very fun.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think I would watch it before visiting a place just to kind of like, and again, we keep talking about like just seeing video shots of a location really
Mhm.
does help. And
Mhm.
so just I think that just getting to see a little bit of the place, or if there was something kind of zany and fun that they did that I
Yep.
wanted to do,
Yep.
I'd be like, oh no way, how can I do that? And then see it's
Yep.
insanely expensive, and that's why I'm not going to do it. But
Mhm.
you know,
Sounds right.
all right, so let's talk about the episode that you were alluding to that neither of us have been to.
Yeah. So that's season 6, episode 3, Madeira.
Mm-hmm.
And I had I don't think I'd ever heard of it before we had been looking up episodes. I definitely had no idea where it was. And so I thought that was a good candidate for both of us.
Yeah, I know. It was great that neither of us were like, I don't know where in the world this is. And that's really fun as we have kind of talked about that we're trying to learn more about like a variety of places.
Yeah.
And so that was pretty cool.
Yeah, so they described it in the show as an autonomous region of Portugal off the coast of Africa.
Yeah, I'm looking at it on a map now, and it would appear that it was a region of Morocco based on where it actually is. Because it is like if you drew circles around continents, it would be in Africa based on that.
If you drew circles around continents. Okay.
If you like, yeah.
Yeah, no, I gotcha. I just think it's a clever way of describing that. Got it, though. I fully understand.
So this episode was great. It was so fun.
Yeah, I completely agree. The guest was Robert Webb, who don't know if I knew,
Yeah, I don't think I knew him.
but that's okay. Just another quote that I wrote down from early on that just captures, I think, the spirit of the show is they get into their hotel, the Hotel Vine, which I think you would appreciate because it's all about grapes for wine.
Mm-hmm.
And Richard, the host, says it has a roof terrace with enough room for this elegant panning shot, floors that look like tiny roads, and at least 3 other areas. It's just like,
He sounds like he is like knows what he's talking about and is giving you a ton of information until you actually listen to the words.
uh-huh. Yep. It's so just clever. I think just the attitude of the whole thing is what I enjoy.
Yeah.
It brings out the fun of travel, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. That's missing from Rick Steves.
I think for the most part, yes.
I find his shows entertaining because of how excited I get about those places,
Mm,
but not because it's like a fun show necessarily. Like I get
Sure.
excited about the places, and I think he does a good job representing the places.
mm-hmm.
But it's more like reading a travel book or maybe a textbook even sometimes. And then this show is just so fun and entertaining. And
Mhm.
like it also is a travel show, but it's just really fun.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, and even in this, one of the first things they do is they go on a tour. It's called the Old Timer Tours, where they're in a minibus that has a rollback roof. Did you notice that?
I don't know if I noticed that aspect of it or not.
'Cause, yeah, it's like a sunroof, except it looked like a piece of cloth that was just rolled
Oh,
back.
yeah.
So they can pop out of the roof to look at things and then pop back in. It was just funny. And then they go to this, I'm totally going to say this wrong, Vashu Dosh Patrish or something. The seaside restaurant that's only accessible by sea or what I would say very
Yes.
steep cable car.
Yeah, that looked really steep.
Yeah, it did.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Oh my goodness. I was just thinking about like the people that work there
Yeah.
then.
Yeah.
That looked really fun though. That was a really unique experience that
Yeah.
I think that was a good example of being like very region specific
Mm-hmm.
and everything. So that was really cool.
Yeah, because it's the dish is scabbard fish and bananas, which by the way, the scabbard fish look gross. Just like as an organism, they look gross.
Oh, I thought that the bananas looked gross, but I hate bananas. So
But and again, with the food, I feel like that's sort of what so they have a dish and it's unique to that area. It's what they fish there and what they do, but they don't go into all of the intricacies about how they made it and that I don't really care about. So I'm like, great. I don't care that you're showing this fancy food at this fancy looking restaurant because you're not wasting my time on all the food part of it. Sorry, Cheryl. But then they do, and from the science part, that it's another quote. I'm so sorry, except I'm not sorry because I think it's hilarious.
Mhm.
They talk about all the different microclimates that exist on the
Yeah.
islands. And so one, and I don't remember who said which, but one of them asks, how do you feel about the microclimate down here? And the other one replies, I believe in microclimates. I don't believe they have just been made up in the last 5 years.
Oh, yeah. I loved that line. That was a
Oh my
very
gosh.
good line.
Yeah, because it's just, they're talking about a real feature, microclimates, but then they just make it fun and it's just funny. And they don't go into all of the details or the subtleties. It's just, oh yes, I believe in microclimates. Like,
Yeah.
okay, that was never the question.
Yeah. That was fun.
And then what did you think of I don't even know what to call it, the downhill wicker toboggan?
Oh my goodness. They looked like college kids with that. They just looked like
you got to describe what
crazy
this
college
is.
kids. So it looked, what it looked like was 4 college guys put wheels on a couch and 2 of them sat in it and 2 of them kind of like pushed or pulled it while it went downhill and like spun it around
Yep.
and
Except
all this
the
stuff.
couch is a wicker couch.
And then at the end of it, he said, "That's definitely the fastest I've gone in wicker."
Uh-huh.
And it was funny because then they were like spinning it at one point and they were like, "Is this necessary? Like, do you have to spin it?" And they were like talking about how like, I think we should trust these guys, but also they were kind of very afraid. So, oh man, that was weird and very funny looking. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the examples of, oh, that might be a fun thing to try if you were ever to go there.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
I never would have thought of pulling out or looking for or anything
Mhm.
like that. That would be a
Yeah.
really unique experience.
Yeah. And then we got to talk about the drink, where I don't remember where the drink falls, but there's a drink they try.
Yeah, there is. There's a drink that, and I don't remember if I wrote that down. Oh, I think I did. I think that was the next thing. The Taberna or something.
Yeah.
De
It's like
Pancha.
a
whatever the-
local drink that they get. And as it's being made, they keep making funny jokes about it as like
Yes.
how elaborate it is and weird. And then they clearly don't like it.
Nope.
But the way they talk about it, so it's real cheap. It's just €1.50. And
Okay.
so and it, like it says a little thing, and then they like pay for it, and they're talking about how cheap it is because they're like, I think we got more money back than what we
Yeah.
gave her. And then they're just making all sorts of funny jokes about how it's not good and everything. And so that was funny because I was trying to figure out like what would that taste like.
Yeah. But again, I think the thing that I enjoyed about even that scene is, yes, they're going and they're trying these drinks, and most other travel shows, they only show you these great things and how everybody loves them, and that, you know, the subtlety of this flavor. And we're here, there. I think this was the other piece. I felt like I could identify with them, and especially with Richard
Oh.
Ayoade, because he is unimpressed by some of those fancy sorts of things, and I'm
Mm.
generally unimpressed with those things too, right? He tries the drink and he's like, yeah, no, I don't like it.
Mhm.
And I feel like sometimes I run into those things, oh, you've got to try this unique whatever, and I'm like, yeah, I don't like it. So I just appreciated that he's like, yeah, no, I don't like it.
Yeah, that was a different point of view than maybe like a typical travel show, I would say, is
Mhm.
to not just be positive about everything.
Yeah.
So
And
that was fun.
and yet still the overall feeling of the show, like you identified earlier, is still positive.
Yes. They're not trashing the place.
No.
And there might be some other shows we watch, like I can think of at least one that we're going to watch that's a lot about negative experiences
Mm.
in another place. But this isn't about a negative experience. I think it's just like however they react to it, and then they're funny about it,
Yep.
but it still feels very uplifting and positive.
Yep. And I think the humor does a lot with that, because when it's that they don't like the drink, and I don't remember exactly how they did it, but it's still funny in the way they
Yeah.
do it, as
Yeah.
opposed to uppity or
Yeah.
frustrated that it's not up to their quality or whatever. It ends
Yeah.
up just turning that into another opportunity to make us laugh.
Yeah. So that was good.
Yeah. And then they go to a trout farm and do this like
And they said it's like the most second
most
crowded
visited or something in the
visited
world.
trout farm, and but they were the only people there.
Yeah.
So they were talking about how the first one just has like one person at it or something like that. Yeah. That trout farm was funny.
It was funny. And they go for a walk with it's a UNESCO World Heritage Site walk down this little irrigation something. It actually looked like a really cool walk.
Yeah.
And then partway through, they go to another tiny little hut type restaurant thing and try food that, again, they don't like. And then they walk to this place where they've got the great ocean view that is really cool, and that part's fun. And then they do a little alleyway walk to see door art.
Oh,
I thought that was
yeah.
cool.
That
where
was pretty cool.
There are people who have just decorated the doors of, I don't know if they're houses or just buildings along the street or whatever. And there's all different styles and just kind of, a street art sort of a thing that I thought was cool.
Things like that remind me of that website you like, Atlas Obscura.
Yes.
So I can see this like crossover between this show and Atlas Obscura.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And then they go, and apparently Madeira is known for embroidery. And so then they go in to an embroidery shop and take embroidery lessons
It's
to
so
do some
cute.
embroidery.
It was so cute. And like one of them, he's asking like, well, do you sew your name on your shirts anymore? And he's like, no, I don't do it anymore. Oh my goodness. It was just adorable. Yeah. I liked seeing them participate in that. Yeah. I guess there's a high level of participation in this show.
Yeah, they're pretty active.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So fun.
So that part was, and then they get a certificate, which apparently that's a thing. Because like I mentioned, I loved the show enough that I've watched a bunch of other episodes as well. And apparently he's always looking for a certificate after he does something. And he's disappointed when he doesn't get a certificate.
He got a certificate for his gladiator school. And he got a Roman name. And he got the name for Spartacus's friend, and then his guest with him got the name Spartacus. So he was complaining about how his friend was Spartacus and he was not. So it was really cute. Yeah.
Yep. And then they go to the Reed Palace Hotel and they have tea. And then they do that recap thing again that they do at the end of the show and just say, hey, what was your favorite part or whatever. But it's this beautiful kind of terrace area that kind of overlooks the ocean. And they just get to have more traditional tea because they came out with I don't even know what the thing's called. The 3-tiered circle plate holder thing.
Oh, yeah. Why am I forgetting what that's called?
Because I don't think I've ever heard the name.
Yeah, that's probably why.
Yeah.
Anyway.
With, scones and little sandwiches with the crust cut off and stuff like that.
T-tiered plate.
That thing.
That's the name, yeah.
So that was Madeira. The question about Madeira that I think we need to answer is, based on this episode, would you want to go there?
Yeah. Yeah, it sounds great. And I might like some of the food they didn't like. I'm not sure. I like a lot of food.
You probably would.
Yeah.
You probably would.
And I would not roll down a hill in a wicker couch, but I would want to watch it.
All right, perfect. Then let's go together because I would go down the hill in the
You
wicker
would?
couch. Oh yeah.
I
That
think
looked like
if
fun.
if you went and then you assured me like, no, this was great, I think I would go after you. I don't think I'd be the first one to go. I would definitely go on that cliff thing up to the gondola up to the restaurant.
Or down to the restaurant.
Oh, down to the yes. I would totally go there. Yeah. I would do that. I would do a lot of
there's food involved.
Oh, there's food involved. And it's a gorgeous location, and I always love a picturesque location. I am totally interested in this. I mean, I think what's tough is getting there, but I went from never hearing of this place to now being like, oh yeah, if I had the right opportunity or it worked out, I would totally want to go there.
Well,
how about you?
I think it was only a 4-hour flight from London, I think is what he said. So next time you're in Spain, I'm sure it's just a quick little hop south from Madrid. So
4 hours.
Yeah.
$145.
That's not bad.
It's not bad.
That's from London, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I'll bet
How
you.
about you? Do you want to go there?
I would totally go. It looked awesome.
Yeah, it did.
It looked super cool. I mean, there's a lot of just natural beauty there that I enjoy. And that was fun. And I think it looked like it was a really cool, chill place that would just be fun to just kind of relax and not worrying about, I got to see this and I got to do this and I got to, all of that sort of thing, but to just sort of enjoy it for what it was. Because I think as much as we talk about on this podcast, how we really like to engage in the culture and the local and all that stuff, and I do, there is a pretty strong part of me that if I'm going to, let's say, just Paris, I want to see the Eiffel Tower and I want to see the Louvre and I still want to do those big things.
Yeah.
I mean, and I've done those things. But like that's still where I'm at. I don't want to miss some of those things just to have this other experience. I want it all. I want both of them. And so a
Yeah.
place like Madeira, I think I would really enjoy because I wouldn't feel that pressure to do those things. I could just immerse myself in that microclimate or, microculture of whatever that is in a more effective way without feeling like I'd have to give up other things to do it.
And I think that's what a lot of islands are like, is more chill, feeling like there's less you have to cram in. So I think that matches like visiting an island in a lot of places. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, add it to the list.
Done.
So another question that we have is based on the title of our show, Take Me With You. If you could take yourself to just one thing from this episode, what would it be and why?
What would I want to do if there was just one thing?
Is it the wicker couch?
I don't think it's actually the wicker couch. The wicker couch would be fun, but I don't know if that's the only thing that I could do, that would be the thing that I would do. I think it would either be I think it would probably be the walk.
Yeah.
The walk that they go on and then they get that really cool view, because I enjoy walking just for the sake of walking and being able to see things that way. And then the view is really cool. I think the other thing would be to do the gondola down to the restaurant, but not because I really care about the restaurant, but more because it looked gorgeous right down there on the beach. And I think they were doing it near sunset when they were shooting it as well. So that was extra beautiful, but it just looked gorgeous. And that would be really cool. I think I would do the gondola ride down, but I would have to psych myself up because of how steep it is. When I've done other similar things, I've done like a gondola over the tops of rainforest in Australia, and even just like a ski lift type of a thing where I have to stop and mentally tell myself, I know that this is safe, because I do know that it is safe. And usually I'm fine and I can look down and it's usually okay. But there are moments where it doesn't emotionally feel safe. So like, I think I could probably do it and I would be okay, but I might have to take a few moments for myself to psych myself up to do it. What about you?
Oh, the gondola to the restaurant. Totally. Yeah.
Because there's food involved.
And gondolas and a gorgeous beach. I mean, all of that. It's like, that's just a perfect evening right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a fear of heights in some situations, like on a ropes course or things like that. And those are the moments where I have to tell myself, I know that this is safe. But in those situations, and I think when I was in high school, I had more of a fear of heights. Like when in 2000, when my family went to Europe, in the Eiffel Tower, like I went up because I was like, there's no way I'm missing this. And we went up a couple other tall things, but I like had to make myself be okay with it and everything. That was tough for me. Yeah. And now I think I'm way more fine with heights like that, or like with a gondola or a ski lift type of thing. I'm great with things like that now. So, Ferris wheel, love it. Things like that. So yeah, I think I would be good with that. If I had to rock climb to get back up, then that would be a lot harder for me, I think. Yeah. So Ryan.
Yes,
I'm sure I already know your answer to this, but
yes, you do.
From the show overall, would you want to travel with him?
Oh, in a heartbeat. Oh my gosh, yes. I think it would be a riot to travel with him. Yeah. What about you?
Oh, so much. So he's the friend you want sitting next to you, whispering the snarky comments during anything. Yep. Oh my goodness. Like, yep. Oh yeah, that boring museum tour, it'd be so fun, or whatever it is. Yeah.
And there was, again, I apologize that I cheated and watched other episodes, but there's an episode that I watched where they go in, and I don't remember even where it was. They go into like a modern art museum or something. And it is exactly the way that I would be. in that music. But I don't know. I don't get it. Like
Mm.
there's some art that I really appreciate. And there's some art that I'm like, oh, I don't understand. Like why? I don't get it. Like what's the I don't know. And he was very much that way. And I got a sense that some of that was really for show as opposed to necessarily his full opinion of it.
Sure.
But that's okay because it's still funny.
Yeah. Yeah, I would love to travel with him, and I think the activities in this show, like how fun. What
Yeah.
a fun way to see a
Yeah.
place. Yeah.
And it's a good balance of some of those touristy things. So
Yeah.
you see some of the big highlights, but you don't hit all of them. And you do some other things that are definitely not the run of the mill, everybody does them things.
Yeah. So good. Watch
Very
this
good.
show. Watch this show now, too.
Yep. As a matter of fact, I would even forgive you if you turned off our podcast to turn on his show. It's that
fine.
good.
You have 20 minutes either way, so you know.
That's right. Good point. Now we're going to move to the last part of our podcast, the Wish You'd Stay Home segment. Since for us here, when we're recording at the beginning of May, we are still in stay home orders. By the time this podcast is released, hopefully they will start to be lifted, but still will be limited in our travel abilities. So what we're going to do is highlight a virtual travel attraction, something that we can do from home to keep ourselves occupied, maybe keep us remembering travel, maybe just keep us from going crazy, but something that we can do from home, probably involving our computers. So Cheryl, what are you going to do for your Wish You'd Stay Home?
For mine, I am going to share about a new Instagram account I created.
Perfect. Actually, I would love to hear more about it because I saw this week that you created it. But I would love to know some backstory on it. So why don't you go ahead and tell our listeners what this new account is, and then you can tell us what inspired you for this account.
So, this is at Papyrus on Instagram, but it's Papyrus with 3 Y's. So it's like Papyrus. So PAPYYYRUS.
And is
on
that
Instagram.
because the regular Papyrus was already taken, or
Yeah, by
did
the
you...
company Papyrus, the paper company.
Whatever.
So,
Why did they take that? That's dumb.
Yeah, they're all verified and whatever. So, you know. And I thought about other titles, and I was like, nope, I think I'll just go with Papyrus. So that's what it is. So I, for years now, have hated the font Papyrus. And I notice it everywhere. And I've come to realize more recently that actually I love to hate it. I don't just hate it, because if I hated it, I don't think I would feel so, I don't know. I guess you can feel passionate about hate, but this is like, I think it also brings me a lot of entertainment in life. So I think I love to hate it. So just a lot of, it's insane to me, like the number of stores and restaurants and companies that have some sort of packaged good have the Papyrus font, because
companies still do.
Yeah, still I see it in the world all of the time. And so one thing I do is I accidentally curse people to see it everywhere, because I'll tell them about how terrible Papyrus is and how I notice it all the time, and then they'll start noticing it, which is very funny. And so sometimes people have even started like sending me pictures when they see it out in the world. So for the past year, I've talked about how I just need to start a Papyrus Instagram, because I know that other people feel how I do about Papyrus. I know that it's a thing. And so I feel like I need to have this Instagram account. So I finally started it, and I'm just trying to post snarky little captions about it. And I'm excited because now I have even more purpose when I see it in the world to do something fun with it, because usually I just text my husband and like tell him that I saw Papyrus. And it's a very funny font, because the larger it is, the worse it is, because those little like crinkles in the side of it, just when they're blown up, just look absolutely ridiculous. And so like there's a restaurant near me that has it as like their giant font on their sign, and it's so dumb. And I don't know how so many people like it still. I just don't get it. But there's this SNL sketch about Papyrus. Have you seen it?
I haven't. I'm looking at Instagram right now, and I see that you you're calling it the best SNL sketch of all time.
Oh, it's so good. But it is how I feel about Papyrus. He's like freaking out and obsessing about how the Avatar title is Papyrus, and it's very funny. It like bothers him and keeps him up at night and everything. And I'm like, yes, this is how I feel about Papyrus.
So then I have a question. The profile picture, for lack of a better word, is the word papyrus in Comic Sans.
Yeah. So what's really funny about that is that one of my best friends, Beth Reed Miller, who did our artwork, she, as an artist, hates Papyrus and hates Comic Sans. And so actually I reposted on that Instagram. You can see the thing that says it could be worse. It could be Comic Sans. And it says it could be worse in Papyrus, and then it could be Comic Sans and Comic Sans. Which is so amazing and genius. And then when that Papyrus sketch came out, that shot of Papyrus and Comic Sans is from the end of that sketch. That's how it ends. It just shows Papyrus but in Comic Sans. And Beth and I were losing our minds when we saw that, because it was like, oh, that's exactly how we feel about Papyrus. Comic Sans is also awful. They're awful in different ways. So
very different ways.
That shot as my profile picture.
And I will say, in defense of Comic Sans, not of using it under normal circumstances, but apparently there is research to show that Comic Sans does help people with dyslexia read better. And that apparently is where some of the design came from.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
Papyrus does not do that.
No, I do not believe that Papyrus would do that. And I still don't want to have all of my documents in Comic Sans, even if it is helpful. Oh my gosh, Cheryl. So this would have been almost 2 summers ago now. I did a teacher training. It was material science and all this stuff that we did for a week. It was really cool. We got to do a lot of hands-on stuff. The PowerPoint that they used was all in Comic Sans.
No.
And the PowerPoint backgrounds that I remember from the late 90s. I think the PowerPoint existed from like the 90s to today.
Oh boy.
It was
a relic.
It was painful. As a matter of fact, I should probably, because I think I took pictures of the PowerPoint, because I was like, oh no, I should probably at your Instagram account, huh?
Yes, you should. Yeah.
With a picture of it.
My church still uses Papyrus for some things, like on the bulletin or sometimes on the PowerPoint. There's things in Papyrus. Churches
I'll pray for you.
Thank you. It's needed. Yeah, I need to go to every church has its problems, so I guess.
If that's your church's biggest problem.
Oh man. So anyway, that's been something that I've been having fun with, and you should follow it. There's my little sneak plug. How about you, Ryan? What's your wish you'd stay home?
My wish you'd stay home is not nearly as exciting as a new Instagram account, but I do think it's pretty cool. It is a virtual tour of national parks.
Cool.
So the National Park Service is offering virtual tours through their website. So you have to click through some links to get there. There's a thing on the main page, but then to actually get to the virtual tours, there are a couple of different places to go. But they have these virtual tours of lots of different national parks, some of which I've never heard of.
Cool.
Did you know that there was a Hot Springs National Park? Because I did not.
Cool.
Or that's Virgin Islands National Park.
I've heard of that one. I think my
Hamilton Grange National Memorial. Crater Lake is on there.
Yay.
And I both love Crater Lake. Mm-hmm. New Bedford Whaling National Historic Park. There's a whole bunch of different things. They have some live webcams from some of the parks, things to just kind of give yourself a chance to see things that we are not able to see because we are inside. So that could be a really fun way to do some virtual tours, since we can't maybe do a ton of actual in-person tours.
I love it.
I'm so glad you do. I think that's all that we've got for today, Cheryl.
Yep.
So we would love it if you would follow us on social media. We are at Timwi Podcast, TMWI for Take Me With You Podcast. We are on Instagram, we are on Twitter, and we are on Facebook.
Yes, we are. You can also email us at timwepodcast@gmail.com. Send us what is your favorite travel show? What
Mhm.
is, and is it the same or different as the travel show person? Host is the right word. Who you would want to travel with? Which host do you wish you could travel with? That would be a fun question to answer. And what else should we be watching this summer?
Yeah, we definitely need suggestions on other travel shows to watch. You can call us and leave us a voicemail about that. Our number here is 406-763-8699, also known as 406-POD-TIMWE. We would love it if you would rate and review our podcast, share about us on social media, and subscribe to make sure that you do not miss any of our episodes this summer.
As always, thank you to Beth Reed Miller for the artwork and the hatred of Comic Sans and Papyrus. You can check out more of Beth's artwork and her new dog at Beth is Something. And thank you to Erica Corbin for the use of her song Round the Globe. You can listen to Erica's music wherever music is sold or streamed.
That's all we got for this week. Cheryl and I need to watch another travel show.
Yeah, we
so
do.
come back next week. And until then, remember to take me with you.
Take me with you.
Can we get a sailboat chasing down the sunset as we float round and round the globe? Salty air and balmy nights, guided only by the lights above, and a little love. Oh, the world is out there waiting to